Hey, hi, we're back. We hope you missed us because we've missed you. We hope you all had a very Merry Christmas and this year is good to you all. Our little chicken nugget turned 1 this past weekend, which is absolutely cuckoo bananas, bonkers Batman. But we're here and we're ready to kick this thing off. I'm Maggie.
And I'm Ariel.
And you're listening to Cheese for Thought. All right, ghoulish hens and roosters, we are back and we're finally here. We've made it to part 2. Sorry to keep you hanging on for so long. Our household was going through it. We shared our nasty germs and had COVID, which was then followed by a round of strep for our little dude. But we're finally well enough to kick this thing back up again. Drew and I are going to start trading off on episodes so someone can keep our little guy entertained since we no longer have a sitter Tuesday nights. Just to give you all a heads up. When we left things a little over a month ago, I want to say like 6 weeks ago, Robert Hansen and his family had just packed up their belongings into a plane to move from Iowa to Alaska for a brand new start away from Robert's past. As we all know, his past was a dark one. Robert was held to incredibly high standards set by his father at a very young age, which meant he wasn't getting the proper amount of sleep needed for a young lad such as himself, and he carried the weight of 1,000 worlds atop his shoulders, which meant his grades in school weren't the greatest. No matter what he did right or wrong, his father was never happy with him, and that stress stuck with Robert well into his adulthood, and thus the reason for the move, a brand new beginning. Okay, so in 1967, the Hansen family arrived in Anchorage and started to settle into their new life. Robert opened up his own bakery, which took off rather quickly. While Darla had much fewer clients, her income was still more than enough to cover rent in their new home. Their children adapted quickly to the change and made friends rather easily. The family soon after the move found a church that they'd attend every Sunday together, just like they did back in Pocahontas. Robert and Darla's paths didn't cross until evening time. Robert rose before the rest of the household to attend to the bakery, so the bread and the other baked goods were readily available for customers upon the bakery opening for the day. But sometimes Darla would be awake, tossing and turning in the dark of night, long before Robert had any reason to be gone, to find the bed was empty beside her. She did confront Robert about this, but only once, and I'd imagine it did not go over well, because she never confronted him about it again. If he was out whoring or drinking, Darla was happy not to know about it anyhow. But the one time she did confront him, he told her he went out hiking into the woods. He claimed he was getting familiar with the terrain before going out on hunting trips.
Yeah, this makes sense. Let's do this at 3 a.m. Okay.
Yeah, right. It was a good excuse on his part, and in part some of it had proven to be true when he made enough friends in town to secure himself an invite to go hunting with them. Yet, despite having hunting buddies around town, he'd soon be heading out on solo hunting trips every weekend before the crack of dawn. Sure, Darla knew there were hunters in Pocahontas, and she knew Robert was one of the better ones, but she didn't know just how good he'd become. These skills were very appreciated in the lands of Alaska. Many people only hoped to excel in it. After just a few hunting trips, Robert was accepted into the community in a way Darla couldn't have hoped for in her wildest dreams. Soon everyone in town was visiting Robert at his bakery just to talk to him about the next time they'd be going out to hunt and asking him for pointers. What made Robert a strange and unapproachable man in Pocahontas made him a hot commodity in Alaska. And while Robert was still quiet and stayed in his shell, so did most of the other men in this part of town. He went from being an outcast to one of the most beloved members of his community. When it came time for hunting season, Robert would come home from his trips and be accompanied by many new hunting records that were even mentioned in books. After his conviction, his records were abolished. Thank goodness.
Yeah, no kidding.
He carried quite a few in bow hunting prior to it even being in fashion. Now, I'm not in the hunting scene personally, but I think it'd be cool to know archery. Robert liked hunting with a bow and arrow because it was quiet and didn't startle other animals within the woods. When it came to bigger animals, he'd use his rifle to ensure a clean kill on the first shot. But more often than not, he'd walk into the woods in silence and stay there in silence for hours and would come back home with more game than his family even knew what to do with. Most of it would be donated to the church to be given to families who were having trouble securing their meals. So
he's not all bad, I guess.
Good side, partially, kind of, maybe.
And I'm just waiting for it to be like, never mind, okay.
Yeah, nope. You're an asshole.
Yep.
It's coming. Robert even spent some of his time teaching the youth marksmanship, which made him even more appreciated by his community. Darla started to see how this move benefited Robert. He was much calmer and didn't seem to be as anxious or paranoid anymore. She'd been worried that it was the kill that made him feel this way, but he'd come home many times feeling bliss and peaceful without anything to show for his time out in the woods. It was just the calm of the woods, or so she thought, that had been washing away all his sorrow.
Oh, Darla.
Oh dear, Darla.
Buckle up, sweetheart.
Yeah, poor thing. The couple, to all appearances, were extremely successful. Darla's work managed to pay all of the bills, so all the money that Robert's business made was a bonus, which meant that when Robert wanted to spend money on a new rifle or bow, he had the means to do so. Darla knew that there was still a part of him that was drawn to sinful crime, but she thought that by filling all his time with hunting, it'd keep him on the straight and narrow. So when he asked if he could drop some money on a shack in the woods that he could use for hunting, or so he claimed, she was delighted to say yes, time and time again.
Darla, you are too pure.
I know. Too naive.
I wonder if she had any sneaking suspicion of otherwise. Like, maybe she's, like, giving him the benefit of the doubt, like, oh, no.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would be curious if...
Yeah, me too.
To know if she thought something was maybe weird about him or off.
Yeah, I would be too. The only time a problem arose was when he'd wanted something, but the money wasn't there to afford it. Robert never took any of Darla's money. He always insisted that their money stay separate. And even with the bakery being as successful as it was, the cost of living in Alaska climbed from the influx of wealthy pipeline workers, which resulted in localized inflation. Housing prices rose along with rent and rates on the bakery, which put a pinch on their booming success during their early years in Anchorage. Crime had always been Robert's fallback during his times of financial struggle. Even though he wasn't exactly struggling at this time, he still wanted more money to be able to treat himself to a luxurious item. One day, when the ground wasn't frozen beneath him, he went out into his backyard and dug a hole. He then wrapped all of his trophies in old bed sheets and placed them at the bottom of the hole and buried them. From there, he staged a break-in at his home.
How does he even come up with this? Like,
I know.
I don't understand. Like,
only a lunatic. He then filed a police report and an insurance claim. Somewhere in between filing the report and claim to receiving the insurance check in the mail, he obtained his pilot's license. When the check from the insurance company arrived, he bought himself a Piper Super Cub bush plane that would allow him to travel quickly to his cabin by the Knik River.
So he's collecting his bag, clearly, because how much money did he get for some trophies? These must be some, like, serious...
Oh, for sure.
Trophies for him to get money to buy a plane.
Yeah, right? Like, is it real silver, real gold? Like, what is... I think they are.
Because, I mean, just even looking at, like, a starter plane, I feel like it's over $100,000. Like,
yeah,
how much did he get for trophies?
Yeah, that is pretty insane. Unless he, like... destroyed parts of his home too.
I could see that.
From that.
Why not?
Or lied about it because maybe they didn't demand pictures or like proof, or I don't know. Things were different back then. And of course, the plane only added to his popularity. All the kids in town desperately wanted him to take them out into the wilderness on one of his hunting trips.
I don't like where this is going.
I don't either. And I already know what's coming. I don't like it. Robert did take some of the older girls out on excursions into the woods.
Yep.
Most of which were between the ages of 16 and 18 years old.
Okay, it's just getting worse and worse.
Yeah. When the girls returned home, they didn't have much to say about the experience and went about their lives as if it never happened. Yeah.
So something
Red
happens.
flags.
Yeah.
Alaska was pretty conservative, and if word got out that they'd seduced a married man, that'd be the end of their reputations. Or at least that's what Robert would say to these young women after he was done raping them. He told each of them that it was obvious to everyone in town that had seen them approach him with what their intentions were. He told them that no good girl with proper values and good intentions would have gone off into the woods with a grown man alone.
Oh, screw this guy. He's going to blame a child?
Oh, yeah, he's an ass.
Oh, my God.
And for some time, he did get away with this.
Of course he did.
Yeah, he needed it to numerous innocent young women, or young girls.
Great.
Darla was born in Arkansas, which was a much warmer and drier place compared to Alaska, so the move wasn't the easiest for her, and she felt it was a struggle for their kids too. She didn't particularly enjoy the coldness Alaska had to offer or the long, dark nights.
Yeah, it's like night and day. Like, seriously, from Alaska to Arkansas,
right?
It's completely different.
Huge difference. She thought their children were too pale. Oh, excuse me. So each summer, after their first year there, Robert would give them the funds to take a several-month-long vacation to Arkansas to stay with her family, but there were a few summers where they traveled to places more exotic, one of which was a tour of Europe.
Okay, can you imagine that, though? Like, being married and you're like, oh, okay, well, things are hard, so I'm just going to leave for a few months, go on a nice vacation. I don't know. I think I could get behind that.
I could, too.
Minus the husband not being a murderer.
And maybe that's why she stayed as long as she did.
You get a free vacation for a few months and not have to deal with people. I could get behind it.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
Okay, Darla.
Robert, of course, did not accompany them. He stayed behind to manage the bakery since there was no one in town he trusted to run the place for him, and the staff who worked for him didn't know how to do the baking. They were the ones who solely dealt with the customers.
I wonder if he did that on purpose, too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, you guys will never be as good as me.
Like his dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I wonder if he's going to... I wonder if he forces his kid now to be a baker, too.
Oh, yeah.
Later on.
I don't think they ever say anything.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We'll have to Google that one on our own. He knew better from the start that no one could possibly meet his exacting standards, so he never bothered to ask anyone to try.
Oh,
which is good, because he must have learned that from his father and how he could never do right in his father's eyes. So at least he's not setting people up for failure like his father did. So that's a bonus, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, while Darla and the kids were away, this is when he had most of his free time. And it was during these summers where the vast majority of the rapes occurred on over 40 Alaskan women. The teenage girls of Anchorage were now starting to get the impression from others who'd spent time with him that spending time in Robert's company wasn't a great idea, even if nothing was ever publicly stated. So Robert moved on from teenagers to assaulting and raping older women. Just as he would when hunting out in the woods, he took the time to stake out these women in advance, learned their movement patterns, and identified when their vulnerability would be at its peak, and then he'd move in for the kill.
So, like, actually hunting people.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Predator.
Sick.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah. In December 1971, Robert found his next victim. She was a 41-year-old housewife living in South Anchorage. After taking some time to identify her patterns of behavior, he approached her at the front door once she returned home from work and waved a .22 caliber pistol to keep her silent and compliant as he forced her into her apartment. When inside, he pushed her into the bedroom and attempted to rape her, where she fought back. She began kicking at him, and as he was trying to pull her legs apart, she was able to push him off the bed, which made a huge thud that caused the people of neighboring apartments to come in response to the loud bang. But by the time her neighbors got there, Robert had already fled the scene. Frustrated that things didn't go the way he'd intended, he spent a day or so spiraling and decided to wait to see if any repercussions would arise because of his actions. When he felt he was safe and no one was out to stop him, he went out again to find another victim, and this is when he found a prostitute outside of a bar. He offered her $300 for oral sex. When she started to perform what he was asking from her, he drove quickly to his house. He lived in a ranch that was set back quite a distance from the road, which meant no one would hear any noises. When she objected to him driving while she engaged in her business, he pulled out a pistol, pointed it at her, and demanded she keep going. Instead of driving them both to his home, he parked in a spot that he thought was isolated enough, told her he changed his mind, and forced her into the back seat, where he then proceeded to rape her at gunpoint.
Oh, God.
After he was done having his way with her, he kicked her out of the car without payment and drove off. Horrible, man. Horrible. I don't even know if you can call him a man.
Yeah,
Beast.
no.
Like, yeah. Both the women he drove off from and the woman he attempted to rape in her apartment approached authorities separately, telling their story about a man with a stutter. Anchorage wasn't a big town, which meant there wasn't a whole lot of men who fit the description these two gave. And when shown a photograph of Robert, they were able to say it was him rather quickly.
Okay.
So that's good.
Yeah.
By the time he was arrested and charges were brought to his name, his wife and kids had returned home from a short trip down south over Christmas.
So perfect timing here.
Right. Hansen was completely unaware that he was under any sort of investigation.
So now they're hunting him. So look at that.
Yeah. While his family's in town, thank God.
The predator becomes the prey.
Yes. The attempted rape and actual rape were going to be charged together. While he might have been able to fight one of the charges, two charges together would be more damning. Not to mention the effect this would have on his business and family if this were to get out. So he made a deal with a prosecutor. If they would drop the rape charges, he would plead guilty to assault with a deadly weapon in the case of his attempted rape.
I feel like that's like two completely different things.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I really don't feel like he should have got off with that. And that should have definitely not even been an agreement.
Oh, yeah. He should have got off way harsher.
Yeah, because like assault could be like you get into a physical altercation, like a fight. And like that's completely different than attempted rape.
Yeah,
like,
completely.
I don't know. That's
how he
crazy
pulled that off, I don't understand.
See, this goes back to all these people have the best freaking luck. I swear to God. And it's like, these people don't deserve it, and they have the best flipping luck ever.
It makes zero sense.
I just don't get it.
So the only evidence they had tying him to the scene was how the victims identified him.
I feel like that is good enough evidence. They both picked him out.
And
immediately, too.
Right.
And there's like 3 people in Alaska.
Exactly. There's not much people, so it's like, that should have been completely more damning.
Right.
Just that. It was very possible that the deadly weapon charge was going to be their best chance to put him behind bars at all. And that was his charge.
Of course. He gets off once again. Great.
Right. In exchange for his cooperation, Robert was sentenced to only 5 years in prison for his crimes. He only ended up having to serve 6 months.
See, this is what I mean. What?
Yep.
5 years to 6 months. He still has a shot at life after this. He still gets to see his kids grow up.
Like, bullshit.
Just sick.
Yeah.
He ruined all these people's lives, and yet he still gets to live one.
Yep.
It's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and the only reason he was able to be released was because he was released on a work program because Alaska needed all the workers on deck.
Oh yeah, we actually have that here in Wisconsin. We have that Huber thing too. If you're in jail, you can get out for work as well, and you come back to jail at night.
Oh, yeah. He lived in a halfway house, and it was because of the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline project. That's the only reason why they needed all workers on deck. So then he lived in the halfway house for 6 months, and then after that, he was able to go on with his life.
After 6 months,
right? Yeah, so he had 6 months in prison, then 6 months in the halfway house, and then right back to normal life.
So that was kind of his probation period then, was that 6 months?
Yeah.
No, that's great.
His finances took a hit, of course, during his 6-month prison sentence.
As they should.
But once the bakery opened, right. I wish he didn't get the next 6 months, but whatever. But once the bakery opened its doors again, he was flooded with customers and people who wished him well.
Why? Did they not report that he went to jail? I would have never supported this lunatic.
So thanks to his plea deal, the specifics as to why he'd been arrested had never been released.
So if anybody asked, he could lie about it.
Exactly.
Just point blank lie about it because they couldn't look it up to verify it.
Yeah, so there was only opinionated thoughts based on the little they did know of the situation from his wife. So, and what she knew, or what she claimed she knew, was assault with a deadly weapon.
So she didn't even know the full truth.
I will get into it. She did know.
She did?
Yeah.
Oh, Darla, come on. You're killing me.
Yeah, so the people of Alaska just assumed it meant he'd pulled out a gun on somebody trying to start a fight with them.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought too. Right. Yeah.
Which was something anyone would have done if they were in the situation
completely
that these
different
people
than
thought
rape.
He was. Yes.
And actual rape, yes. Right. Completely different assault.
And then I put here in my notes, I'm like, man, they must have felt dumb after knowing everything this man was capable of.
I have the secondhand embarrassment for them right now.
Yeah, so dumb. However, Darla did know the truth, like I said, and she blamed herself for leaving him alone all those months without a woman to confront him.
Darla, come on.
She always knew there was a dark, lustful side to her husband. Darla felt that God could forgive him for his sins, especially if he kept attending church on Sundays. I don't get this either. Like,
I don't agree with that.
I don't personally go to church. I don't know where I stand with religion sometimes, but I don't think that's going to change you if you're that
No.
lustful.
No.
Going to
Especially
church
if you're
on
going for kids, 16-year-olds. Come on.
Yeah, like
No, I don't think you should be forgiven
And
for
I don't
that.
know
I'm
if she
sorry.
knew the age. I think she just knew
That he had raped women
or tried.
to.
I think she knew about the try to.
Okay, so maybe she. But still, the fact that she knew that he did do something.
And I don't know if she knew they were children, about all the
Okay.
children. I think she only knew about these two, or maybe the one attempted. I don't think she knew about the actual.
But think if that was like if I was in her
Or
shoes,
maybe she knew about the actual. I don't know.
I couldn't stay with someone that did that. No way. I'd be like,
Yeah,
I
that'd be
can't.
really-
Especially knowing that you have children.
Right, and like, wouldn't you want your husband to be faithful to you?
Yeah, right. Especially being her. Like, church meant everything to her.
Yeah, unless you're like supposed to forgive your. I don't know what church teaches you, but are you supposed to forgive your husband for doing that?
You're supposed to forgive everything for peace of mind for yourself, but I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, that's hard.
I'm petty as hell.
Oh yeah,
I
me
just
too.
am. It's not happening.
Yeah, no, not a chance. And for a short while he was staying in the halfway house, he did just that. So he attended church every Sunday. He stayed on the straight and
all
narrow.
is well now for him.
Yeah,
he's forgiven by everybody.
Yeah, everything went great while he was in the halfway house. He's just he was A+ student.
All about Robert now.
So and then during his time spent in prison, Darla and the kids drove down every weekend to visit him. Like that's commitment to your husband.
Look at that. Like most people, like most husbands that go to jail for stuff like this, they lose their families, they lose their jobs.
Yes.
And this guy has everything. He still gets the business. He still gets the family to come see him. It's like, what on earth does this guy have that everyone else doesn't?
I know. He's very lucky. I think Darla's an OG.
Yeah, she is. That's for sure.
Robert confronted Darla often to speak of his guilt and how upset he was with himself to have shamed her. But never once did he own up to the fact that he tried to rape one woman and succeeded in raping another.
He's apologizing to the wrong person.
Yeah. He only said, I'm sorry I let you down.
And so I'm sorry I got caught.
Exactly.
Because otherwise he would have never said sorry had she not found out what he did. No way.
Oh, no.
No way.
Because if she just came home from down south, I believe, and went about their normal lives and there was nobody looking for him.
No, she would have never known.
No, exactly. When Robert returned back home after spending 6 months in the halfway house, his love life diminished, much like it had in his previous marriage. Darla laid in bed with him on an occasional basis because she was unable to stomach the idea of what he had done with women much like herself. Darla did her best to do her wifely duties, as the Bible told her, but she began to find it difficult to look her husband in the eyes now or let him do any of the things that he wanted to do to her.
Which I totally understand that.
Yes.
100%.
She has every right to feel that way.
100%.
Darla started to blame herself since she wasn't particularly adventurous in the bedroom. In her mind, she felt her husband was driven into the arms of these other women because of it.
And see, that's sad too, because just because you're not as like sexually adventurous as your partner does not mean you just go out and start raping people. So I hate that she feels that way about herself.
Right,
and that she blamed herself, because that's totally not her fault at all.
Not her fault at all, no. He's sick,
and
he needs help. Now, it's important to note that Darla did not believe her ears when people called Robert a rapist. She just did not want to believe that.
I mean, I understand that, like, not wanting to believe it.
Right, so she didn't know as much as...
Right.
I don't know exactly what she knew, but I don't think she knows all of it.
Like the full thing, yeah.
Right.
And I can understand not wanting to believe that news. Like, you're married to this guy, you have children with him, he goes to church with you, the last thing you want to believe is this guy's a monster.
Right, exactly. In her mind, she felt the prostitutes were the ones to blame here.
And that's where I disagree.
Me as well. After all, they were the ones taunting married men into sleeping with them and dressing provocatively to where a man wouldn't be able to refuse them. That's
sorry,
what
Darla.
she thought.
Nope, sorry, Darla.
No.
Can't get behind that one.
He should not have done anything that he did. And just because they dress that way or they're in that field does not make them an easy target. You should have stayed committed to your wife.
Right.
End of discussion.
Yep.
Yeah. The summer he was released from the halfway home, they spent their very first summer together at the family house. Robert went out hunting, but not nearly as often as he would have had his family been away for the summer like usual. The bakery slowly got back on its feet with the ongoing support from the community.
No, this place should be TP'd.
Hey, I'm with you there.
Stuff thrown through the windows, shut down, screw this guy, and screw his bakery.
Yeah, fuck his world up right now.
No. Why does he get to relinquish himself and funds and... No, Alaska, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, cut him off. No. The bakery slowly... I already said that. Any thoughts the family had about their life in Alaska came to an end because the bakery was doing great. It was successful again.
He doesn't get this happily ever after. I refuse to believe it. I don't like this.
And he won't.
Okay, good. I feel better knowing that.
Yeah, we will find out next episode. So, as long as Robert didn't do anything else that might ruin their lives, they were going to be just fine.
But
But
we all know that's not true.
yeah, but what no one knew at this time was that he'd already done something else.
Okay, I want a time machine so we can go back in time knowing what we know now. Slap Darla in the face with it and be like, lady, Linda, please.
Listen, you're not listening, honey.
Just, oh my
Don't
gosh.
marry this man.
Yes.
But then she never
won't
had
have
kids.
Yes, right. I get that. I just...
Yeah, so
I
we'll
don't
find
know.
out what he did after all this next episode. But yeah, so next week will be the final part for you guys. I'm anticipating it to be extra long. I just wanted to ease us back in with us being away for so long and out of our usual groove. But I'm glad our household is feeling better, and we're so happy to feel back. It feels great.
Mm-hmm.
Please be safe out there, everyone. This holiday season was not nice to us, and I know a lot of other people weren't so lucky either. There's a lot of illnesses going around there, guys. As always, we love you. We hope you keep listening. Adios, my ghouls.
Yes, can't wait to hang out next week. Peace out, peeps.
Bye.
Bye.